you should probably expect spoilers.
She is a 7-foot-tall, ex-basketball pro, Hindu guru, drag queen alien, apparently. Who dat? It's Radical Edward. Have you got something that needs hacking into? Forget wastemans like Neo or that dude from GoldenEye. Ed's got this one, fam, and she don't even want any money for the job, just bring her a souvenir or some food and it's all good in the hood, baby. As far as characters in Cowboy Bebop go, none of them are more oddball or eccentric than our friend Edward here. Designed as a comic relief character, Ed doesn't roll with punchlines or wisecracking jokes like the other characters, instead offering a silly, physical, expressive style of comedy, which might seem a bit out of place for a series like this, but it actually fits right in and offers breathing space between all the heavy stuff. She turns up a quarter of the way into the show, meaning that our time with Ed is actually on the short side, but she certainly does her best to get the most out of her screen time. And yeah, her nickname Ed is short for Edward, not Edith or Edwina or something like that. You gotta understand that we live in a very open world with very open concepts. So for example, if say Kanye West wants to name his daughter North, then he's a fucking idiot, to be honest. Being a person who spends all her time online, Ed goes by more different aliases than that one guy whom your favourite pirate radio station DJ shouts out during every bloody broadcast.
Welcome to the Bebop crew, sending a big shout out to the homie Ed, a.k.a. Radical Edward, a.k.a. Edward Wong, Pepelu, Tivrusky the 4th, a.k.a. Françoise Appledelhi, a.k.a. MC No Shoes, blast this rhythm rude boy!
Her story is not too difficult to follow either, mainly consisting of one minor arc of development before closure. Ed was born on the meteorite firing range known as Earth, and at a very young age, she was left at a daycare centre and remained there for a few years because her forgetful-ass father forgot to pick her up. Realising the Goomba wasn't coming to get her, she left by herself. At some point she acquired her computer, and because she had kept her real identity hidden online, she earned herself somewhat of a folk legend status from her hacking escapades. She heard about the Bebop crew, tracked them online for a while and decided she wanted to run with them. When she found out they were visiting Earth, she made contact. They teamed up to thwart a satellite that had been getting a little too in tune with its jet-set radio graffiti skills, and when it seemed the Bebop crew were about to pull a fast one, she hijacks the whole ship to get herself on board. She joins the crew and becomes their computer expert. Boom, done, we in the building, let's go.
Visual design.
Radical Ed, and Eddie here keeps it incredibly simple when it comes to the garment department. She has a white sleeveless top that hangs extremely loosely off her torso and tight black shorts. That's about it. She also owns a pair of goggles that connect to her computer, allowing her to cyberdive whenever she's surfing the net. Coupled with the way she gets her hair did, she wears those goggles in a style that clearly inspired a few Digi-destined boys to copycat her shit. We're looking at you, Ty. Don't think she didn't notice your punk ass. Ed doesn't wear any footwear, not because she doesn't like to, but I assume she physically can't. At one point she puts socks on her feet and she even seems excited to do so, but when she stands up she falls over because of it. I imagine they probably feel weird to her and therefore disorientate her balance when she attempts to wear them.
Oh Ryu. Oh Ryu, is this what you tried to teach us? Is this the way of the warrior? To discard unneeded possessions so that we could travel the world freely without the shackles of corporate greed laced to our feet?
Ed is a carefree person and clothes do not make her personality. That's why she's so expressive with her emotions and body language. Wearing clothes shouldn't have to tell people about her when she can do it herself. One final point of call to her design is also the way in which she plays with the androgynous angle a fair bit, and this is something that is picked up on a few times within the show by some of the other characters. She never really identifies with gender roles and merely sees herself as Ed. Ed is Ed, and as far as Ed is concerned, that's all that should really matter. The lack of illustrative clothing aids this in keeping things as blank as possible so that her personality may do the talking. Speaking of which,
Personality.
Ed is the kind of person who will beat around the bush in a conversation. This is not because she's out to piss you off or anything like that, it's just that she takes great enjoyment from all elements of conversing. She loves interaction and everything that can come with it. Body language, movement, facial expression, tone of voice, all of these things are factors in which Ed likes to explore when talking to somebody. She absolutely revels in it. It just means that having a conversation with Ed can get a little pressing at times when you just want a straight, coherent answer, and she's not giving it to you. Out of the other Bebop crew members, Faye seems to find this bothersome the most since she has the shortest amount of patience, and talking to Ed requires you to have a landfill of the stuff. But I can relate to Faye, my patience can be quite thin at times too. Way back in the day I knew this one chick who was practically an eccentric crackhead, and trying to get an answer from her would result in,
Yo, what time do you want to meet up?
Well, I'm drying my hair, but I've got to look like a proper hoe, 'cause my pimp is gonna be there, so go and get ready, wash my face, ha.
Thankfully, from a viewer's perspective, Ed oddly doesn't come across as annoying, mainly because her screen time is so short and anything she does say is never dragged out awkwardly for the sake of a laugh. In fact, a lot of her responses in conversations are actually kept neatly within the pocket and flow quite seamlessly between moments. Another thing about Ed's personality that is interesting is she always refers to herself in third person. I find this quite fascinating actually. I'm not really sure how many people are going to see this the way I do, but let me try to paint a picture here for a second. Ed has spent a lot of her life alone. Sure, she probably made friends wherever she went, but she never really stayed put in one place for too long. At one point in the show, a nun at an orphanage who knows Ed even makes the comparison of Ed to that of a stray cat, something that casually strolls in and kicks it with you for a while before going off on its merry way with not a care in the world. So, Ed has been alone for long periods of time, and with a personality as extravagant as hers, who else has there been to appreciate it if not Ed herself? Nobody has. Only Ed. Ed enjoys her own company, and it's fitting to conclude that Ed is her own best friend to the point that she refers to herself in third person because of it. It's kinda like having an imaginary friend, only Ed never fought up an imaginary friend, she just befriended herself instead. Interesting. I've had 2 Cowboy Bebop characters on the show so far, and both of them have had their personalities forged from being in solitary situations. Kinda curious to see how things pan out for the dudes once we start talking about them. Anyways, pressing on.
Importance.
The fact that Ed joins the crew well into the series kinda shows that Team Bebop can get by just fine without Ed. She's not essential to get the jobs done, and they were doing alright before she joined them. That said though, Ed's level of expertise have greatly aided them at numerous points throughout the show, and she even saved their collective asses a few times as well. So, to the Bebop team and the way they probably see her, Ed is this stray cat bonus that fell into their lap and has made their work for them a little easier. But if she wasn't there, then things would just go back to the way they were prior to her arriving. It's not ideal, but it's manageable. Ed did gain a faithful companion in Iron, the ship's Welsh corgi, and he seems to like spending most of his time around her instead of the other Bebop crew members. How fitting, a stray cat and a data dog. Sounds like a Disney movie. Then there's her father, Mr. Appledelhi Sinis Hesapluthven, which is fucking bizarre for me to read because half of that is Turkish, kinda. The word Appledelhi isn't a Turkish word, that's just some made up shit, but the word affedersiniz is. It translates as excuse me, and Hesapluthven is something that you say at a restaurant when you want the check. It basically translates as check please. So this prick's name is a play on the phrase, excuse me, check please. The fuck? They pronounced the word siniz wrong in the English dub though.
Appledelhi Shini's Hesapluthven. Shini's.
But anyways, yeah, random trivia aside, Ed, Her dad, Appledelhi. Waste man. Okay, he's not a waste man, he's actually a very kind person who wants to do the very best he can for the planet he comes from. He works hard every single day to help better the Earthlings and their society. The problem with him is the fact that because he's so focused on that one priority, he does forget everything else, including his daughter Françoise, aka Ed. When he sees her after so long, they bond instantly. You can see his smile is genuine and he has a warm embrace for his child. But when duty calls, he's off again without a second glance. To say he doesn't care about Ed is incorrect. It's not that he doesn't care about her. He cares, I truly believe that he does. It's just a difficult line to tread when you have a character like Appledelhi who is so passionate about wanting to help the world to the point he forgets everything. Even his own kid. Would I say Ed is an important character to him too? Yeah. But again, to an extent. Like the Bebop crew, Appledelhi was doing just fine before Ed came along, and he'll also continue doing just fine after they part ways. It sounds so shitty to say it that way, but that's the way Bebop tells it to you. Everybody who has met Ed has been fine before and after her brief stay with them. While she's in their lives for those short brief moments, she certainly switches the mood up, changes a few things and makes sure her presence is felt. But afterwards, it's back to normality. Like that stray cat you saw that one time and for a short while it changed your life. Before leaving and everything returned back to the way it was before. It's the most bittersweet comparison to make, but it strikes true. Ed is important for the time she's there, sometimes even being the center of attention. And when she isn't there, then things will carry on as they always have done.
Conclusion.
Ed is the character I least expected when coming into Cowboy Bebop. To have such an eccentric personality appear into a series that prides itself on many moments built from subtle delicate structures may seem misplaced at first, but you start to realize her inclusion really helps to break moments up, and she is able to shift the mood a little better than if it was left to just Spike, Jet and Faye. She's not the most important character in the show by any means, and the creators didn't come into this with the notion of making her such a prominent character in the first place, but she's certainly one hell of a fun persona to watch, and nearly every scene with her feels satisfying. Sometimes in some shows, some eccentric characters tend to go over the top and end up overstaying their welcome to the point of annoyance, but not Ed. She dips in, she does exactly what she has to do, and then she dips right out, leaving you with fond memories that you can treasure forever. And honestly, what more could you ask for?